This is a story about a daughter-in-law who slapped her mother-in-law for unexpectedly coming to her house. The daughter-in-law also seems to have discovered a weakness in her mother-in-law. Let's find out what happened.
Hi. I've been married for 6 years, and I'm a middle-aged woman, raising 2 sons in the countryside. I'm writing this post because I recently had a fight with my sister-in-law. When my husband and I met, he had nothing but his body. It's a bit exaggerated expression, but it means that we got married without any possessions. We proceeded with the marriage because my in-laws said they would lend us the money for the security deposit. After our honeymoon, we agreed to pay the remaining balance the next day. The total security deposit was 50 million won, and we promised to repay it quickly by both working. However, when we went to my in-laws' house after the honeymoon, my sister-in-law said, "I can only lend you 10 million won for the security deposit. You figure out the rest." Can you believe it? Our belongings were already moved into the new house, and we had to pay the remaining balance the next day. I felt like my mind went blank for the first time. My sister-in-law threw 10 million won and left, and I hurriedly called my parents-in-law and asked them to lend us 40 million won so that we could make the final payment and move into our new home. When I looked at the wedding gift list, I realized that my husband's friends had received over 13 million won in cash gifts, but they didn't give us anything. They just wrote down the names and left. My mother-in-law sent us 40 million won, and said that even though my husband didn't have the money now, he seemed reliable, and she didn't think he would abandon his wife. So she supported us to repay it slowly while both working. And my friends also gave us 7 million won in cash gifts. About a week after our honeymoon, we heard that my husband's younger brother became a defaulter. So we urgently borrowed 25 million won from my in-laws to resolve the situation. My brother-in-law paid off the debt, and now he's working diligently. That's how eventful our newlywed life started. And just 1 month after getting married, my husband's business suddenly took off, and our income increased several times. We also bought a single-family house 3 years after marriage. As we started to live well, my sister-in-law, who used to contact us frequently and always looked for opportunities to pick fights, started to show resentment. When we used to go to my in-laws' house during ancestral rituals, they would ignore us when we greeted them. But now that we bought a house, they pretend to know us first and act friendly. Fortunately, we received a lot of compensation because the neighborhood was being redeveloped after buying the single-family house. I don't know how they found out about the redevelopment news, but my husband's sister and brothers came to our house and acted as if they were close friends, saying that if the redevelopment happens, we will become rich. They even asked me to buy them an expensive meal. My husband became busier and busier, and when he couldn't attend his siblings' celebratory events due to work, they called me and said unpleasant things like, "Your husband is too busy now that you're living well. He neglects his duties at the in-laws' place and belittles us." The reason I didn't tell my husband about these things was because I was worried that it would lead to a fight between the siblings. Around the time of our second child's 100th day celebration, I got sick and couldn't attend my mother-in-law's birthday celebration. But then, they had a celebration and came to our house, saying they wanted to have tea. In the living room, my father-in-law started smoking. So I asked him if he couldn't smoke outside since we have a newborn baby. But my sister-in-law said, "Uncle smokes like that all the time, and it's dirty and pathetic of you to make a fuss about it." I told them it's difficult for me to pay attention to the in-laws' affairs because of the young children. Then suddenly, my sister-in-law got angry and said things like, "Are you only focused on raising kids, Aren't my mother's birthday and your absence from the celebration more important? She started picking a fight, so I told her to stop. We did everything we could without causing any trouble. So why does she interfere like that? She yelled at me, "Are you trying to defy me?" and slapped me in the face in front of our children. In that moment, I lost control and grabbed her by the hair. Since her brother had hit me before, I told her to try doing the same thing. And I dragged her to the sofa and let go. "My brother, didn't you constantly insult and disrespect our mother, saying she's old and weak and that she can't communicate properly? When I asked why you were criticizing me when you haven't done anything right, you grabbed me by the hair, punched me in the back, kicked me, and knocked me down." It turned into a chaotic situation, and our mother yelled at our father and sister-in-law, asking what kind of behavior this was on her birthday. She kicked them all out. She apologized, saying she's sorry for teaching me wrong and causing such a situation. But I told her that she didn't do anything wrong, and that those people suddenly changed. I also apologize for showing them such a scene on her birthday. Our mother went home with my brother, and my husband cleaned up the house and apologized. Even though my husband is kind and diligent, my brother and sister, who used to try to show off and make themselves look good when we started living well, now belittle us and neglect their duties at my husband's family's place. I thought that if I didn't want to deal with these kinds of people anymore, the only way was to divorce my husband. The next day, I threw the divorce papers at my husband, telling him that he didn't know how much my sister and brothers have been bothering and tormenting me. I told him that I should have intervened and protected him, and I apologize for not doing so. But he kept insisting that divorce is absolutely not an option, saying he didn't know because he was busy with work, and that he's sorry. Still, I shouted that I wanted a divorce, and we spent a few days in a cold war. That's when my sister-in-law called me. She said, "Leave the kids to me. I'll take care of them, so you can just leave." Isn't it obvious that she's trying to take my children? Even though she's been divorced twice and left her own children with their father, she's currently in her third marriage and is clinging to her husband, afraid of getting divorced again. So she told me, a woman who has been irresponsible and unable to take care of the children in each marriage. How dare I say that she will raise my kids? She told me to shut up. Oh, there's an important fact. My sister-in-law hasn't officially registered her third marriage, and her current husband doesn't know about her previous 2 marriages. When I asked if I could mention that, while talking about her third marriage, he suddenly became serious. Our relationship as a couple is good, but it's frustrating to deal with interference and criticism from my brother and sister-in-law. So I thought it would be better to divorce and not have to deal with them anymore. My husband said he will cut ties with them, so I'm waiting to see. However, my mother-in-law and brother-in-law have treated us well, so we plan to visit them separately. Do you think my decision is right?
Epilogue.
Thank you to those who left heartfelt comments on my haphazardly written posts. I appreciate the comforting words and advice from all of you. I would like to express my gratitude to the person who praised me for being brave, and to the person who said that my husband's business is gradually improving because I trusted him. My husband was told to apologize to his older brother and sister-in-law for smoking and speaking rudely at our house, as well as for hitting his wife and getting into a physical fight. They said that if he doesn't apologize, they will cut off contact with us. It turns out that my sister-in-law wanted to divorce me and told me to leave our children behind. And my husband tried to extort money from his younger brother, under the pretext of raising our nieces and nephews because he is earning well. It's so obvious. I can't believe how cunning and conniving some people can be in life. Fortunately, my husband and I are living without any trouble. And it's reassuring to know that my husband is my shield. I've heard that if a married couple gets along well, conflicts often arise within the in-laws. Our case seems to be just like that. Among my husband's siblings, we are the ones who are living the best. That's why I wonder if they are picking a fight with us out of jealousy. Yesterday, my sister-in-law called my husband. When my husband asked if she called to apologize for the previous incident, she said let's talk about it when we meet. They met at a cafe in the evening, and my sister-in-law said that my husband's wife has an unusual personality and asked if he could grab her by the hair and throw her down. She said, "Didn't you hit your sister-in-law first? If she had been slapped out of the blue and stayed still, wouldn't that be cowardly?" My sister-in-law said she has no intention of apologizing. And my husband said, "Then let's never see each other again." My sister-in-law said she won't contact him anymore, and asked him to promise one thing: to keep her being the third wife a secret. It's absolutely important to her that it remains a secret. Well, so my husband said he will decide whether to tell his older sister, based on observing her behavior. And he told me to be careful with my words in the future, not to meddle in other people's affairs, and to live properly like his older sister. He said to my mother, "You know how to handle things well, so please don't ignore my sister and live well." In fact, if my sister-in-law intended to apologize, she wouldn't have hit me first. And I didn't expect my sister-in-law's niece to apologize. I will just maintain a relationship with my mother and younger sister-in-law. I have no regrets at all. I will live well with my lovely children and faithful husband. Thank you once again to those who showed interest in my posts.
While the husband's reaction to his sister-in-law was somewhat disappointing, it turned out well. Since she has identified her sister-in-law's weakness, she can occasionally leverage that to deal with her. What do you all think?